Good evening, adventurers, and welcome to a special edition of the MazeCast. We're going to call this MazeCast 27.5, 28, who knows? This is our anniversary podcast. We've been around now for a year. Woohoo! This is where the streamers and all the confetti kicks off. Steven will do something.
I'll do something.
He'll do something. So, anyway, we wanted to do something special, and we've been promising you guys guests, so here they are. We want to talk a little bit. These are our friends, Nathan and Josh. We wanted to talk a little bit about the Master and Apprentice D&D game that we've been running for a while now. We've got 14 sessions in the can. Session 15 is tonight, right after this podcast. We'll be playing.
Yep.
But we wanted to talk a little bit about how the game kind of migrated into what it is now, how it kind of came to be, and then talk to our friends here a little bit, get their perspective from Nathan, who was a longtime player, but really never played D&D 5e until we got into this game. And then speaking to Josh, who keeps looking over his shoulder, waiting for the FBI to kick his door down. He has never played D&D before until he started playing with us.
Yeah.
So we'd like to introduce our friends. First, to my left, Steven's right. I can't tell. This camera thing is weird. We've got Nathan. Nathan, wave and say hi.
Hello.
And then we have Josh.
Hello.
So these are our two friends. Josh is friends with Steven. They work together, and Nathan and I have known each other forever. Steven has known Nathan pretty much his whole life.
Yeah, longer than any friend I have.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it, guys. The Master and Apprentice game. Kind of interesting for me as it's a fully online game. Everybody knows that I prefer to play in person, but with me being in Georgia and the three of them being in Virginia, makes that kind of impossible. So we do play online through Discord, and we use basically Theater of the Imagination. We tried Roll20. It just doesn't work because my internet is trashed here. Until I can afford to get an upgrade. But let's jump right into it. We are playing a D&D 5e game set in the Forgotten Realms. The party is based out of the city of Neverwinter along the Sword Coast, where they had at one point, but not any longer, a magic shop where Nathan's character, Eucalus the Charlatan, legitimate businessman, was running a magic shop.
Won't take the slander. We're not going to take the slander much longer.
Not much longer. It's all Gerald. It's all Gerald.
It is Gerald's fault. It's always Gerald's fault.
So let's get into it. Let's talk to the guys and get their perspective on it. Nathan, you have been playing D&D for a while now, although I think you had quite a bit of a break between our second edition campaign and then jumping into this game. What are your thoughts? What's your background in D&D, and how are you enjoying the game so far?
Game's been going good. 5e is a little bit different than the regular second edition.
I'm glad you said, because I was thinking, I've never played a wizard, so how different is a wizard from second to fifth? Because to me, it all sounds the same. So, does it play drastically different? I mean, that might be a better question for Dad, but, how different is a wizard now? Because you've always basically played a wizard, right? When I think of you, it's like a wizard pretty much all the time.
I have played fighters before.
I gotta fact check that. I don't know if I believe that.
Oh, you could ask Autumn on
that. I don't know, dude. Phone a friend on that one.
I played a sword fighter that had he was called Hans Franz.
Oh, why? Now that you say that, I feel like I remember that story.
And he was basically a follower of chaos.
Oh, you don't say. That's so crazy for you.
If I recall correctly, I believe that was an all-evil campaign where Autumn played a anti-paladin of Tiamat, Stormsong, and Nathan plays Hans Franz. I think their friends played a bunch of just, creepy degenerates. And yeah.
Are you saying that before there was the villainous options Unearthed Arcana, you could play as evil characters in D&D?
Absolutely.
How is that possible?
Well, you don't get it very often. Most people want to play heroic games, but you do from time to time get people say, you know what, I want to try an evil character. What do you think? Well, I will tell people, if you want to play an evil character in my game, either everybody plays an evil character, or you have to play an evil character with a party of good players, and you all have to get along, and I don't want any PvP shit. So
it's interesting because online everyone's talking about the villainous options, like, and they're great. I mean, the new Unearthed Arcanas are awesome, but like, you could always just be evil. Like, you don't need WotC to be like,
you can always be
this
evil.
expansion allows you to be evil. Like, what do you mean? Like, I can do whatever I want.
You can always be. If you couldn't be evil, why are there evil alliances in the game? So that's it. Probably makes it easier. It gives you some structure for subclasses and things like that. But yeah, you could always play it.
If disclosure for the podcast, if you hear like what sounds like someone knocking on my door, my dog is going like goblin mode on this rawhide bone behind me. So like, just ignore that if you hear that. I guess.
So Josh.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna ask the question, but hit him.
Josh, you are new to the game. You just started playing with us. You've never played D&D before. Give us your thoughts. What do you think?
So, honestly, when I first started, I wasn't sure if I was going to like it or not, because I've never really been a big, like, role player. Like, I've never been able to, like, you know, a lot of people play games and be like, oh, I'm going to do this person who's from this background and all this stuff. Typically, I'm just like the, you know, run in and beat them, which I'm kind of doing with Kate anyways. But it's been a lot of fun. I mean, honestly, it's one of the few things that I've, like, every single week I feel like as soon as we're done, I was like, I wish we could have played, like, 2-3 more hours. It's just... You know, and also can feel like at least for at least the last couple of weeks or I guess like a month or so, I've been kind of coming out of the shell a little bit and not just like thinking about like what would be the smart thing to do. And then I'm like, you know what? How about for one, am bluntly honest, or I like playing the loot and stuff sometimes, so I do things like that. So it's been a lot of fun. I mean, honestly, it's been one of the coolest experiences that I've had, and it's definitely a different vibe. You have to kind of think outside the box, but it's been a ton of fun. I've been having a blast. So it's you know, I definitely and now in games I'm starting to do the opposite. I'm doing the same thing where I'm like, oh man, this guy, I should do this, and then he comes from here. So
you mean in video games you're kind of picking up on like the whole RP, like you're trying to role play more? I mean, that in my opinion, like when you can have a backstory or just some reason that you're doing something in a game, even if it's just for fun in your own head, it kind of makes the whole thing more interesting. Like, you know, Diablo is one of my favorite games. The story exists in Diablo, but nobody cares. It's basically just run into a dungeon and kill everything. So it's kind of fun to come up with your own little, like, well, why is my character doing, like, you know, what is my character's backstory? It kind of makes it fun.
Yeah, it's just different for sure.
Yeah.
You have to think of it kind of like from almost like an acting standpoint, right? So you're playing a character, so you're basically playing the part of an actor. You're taking on a role. So you have to think from a perspective of what motivates my character. Why does my character want to interact with the world? Why is my character going on this quest? Why does my character care about what happens to these villagers?
Well,
so there could be a bunch of different questions of that, but you kind of, part of the immersion is kind of thinking not like Josh thinks, but thinking like Cade thinks. You know, put yourself into Cade's shoes.
We've talked about that before too. It's like it's sometimes hard to be a player that like knows what the situation is or what it might become, but your in-universe character has no idea. So like trying to separate that, like I know what a beholder is, I know what these things are, and like sometimes I can kind of get hints at like, oh, this is going to turn bad. But like my character wouldn't know that unless I rolled a perception and got lucky and knew. So like sometimes I find myself kind of playing a little close to the edge of, oh, I know this guy's full of shit, or you know, I know something bad's about to happen. But like then I'm like, well, let me dial it back because my character's a no, and I don't want to ruin that experience, not just for me, but like for the party as a whole. Because if I'm playing like in a not genuine way, I'm like I'm just making something not as special as it could be. Because like you said before too, like if you mess up and do something bad, or you misinterpret a situation and do something dumb, there's no real wrong answers in D&D in my opinion. Like it's basically like if something bad happens, usually there's a way, especially with a good DM, where like, oh, that was really bad, but like you can kind of spin the situation this way, or you can still learn the information but in a different way, or have to try harder or roll more or fight somebody. But that doesn't mean like a failure does not mean the outcome is completely negative all the time, which is a huge juxtaposition from like a video game, because like in a video game you lose, the boss kills you, you're done, you're dead, there is no outcome where you win. Where this is a little bit different, and like it does take a lot of getting used to, and I think that's where the biggest like the first brick wall of TTRPGs comes in, where like somebody only plays video games and they come into a tabletop game. It is like black and white, totally different. Like it might look the same, have the same style, but like just the amount of like it's like a spider web of different outcomes that happen. Whereas a video game, even a good one, might have like 4. Like Elden Ring has like 3 different ways. Like if you lose to a boss, you come back, maybe you can get a companion, something. But like really, it's like you beat the boss or you don't. Whereas in D&D, it's like you beat the boss, you befriend the boss, you kill the boss behind his back, not in combat, you marry the boss, and then have children with the boss. Like, I mean, it's like it could be anything. So anyway, I know that's kind of a lot for a new player to get into.
So that's a good segue point. Let's ask, since both of them are relatively new to 5e.
So am I.
Nathan, what has been the biggest stumbling block or the biggest obstacle for you as a player getting into 5e?
I can already answer this. I
think for me, it's been just kind of the knowledge base has been a little bit of a struggle for me, where like I feel like, you know, I constantly ask you like, oh, like what is this, what do I have to add to my role or whatever. And I think there's that, and then there's also just kind of, I'm just being new, I'm trying to like not do what I normally do, which is just run in and smash them in the face. And so that's been a little bit of a struggle, because I actually have to think about what I'm doing versus like normally I'm just like,
I think
grab hammer, go off, hit him in the head, and that's how it goes.
Well, to be totally honest, you can do that. Like, I mean, yeah. So I'll just say that. But also, you know, your other struggle of like remembering your modifiers and stuff, that is a struggle. Like, number one, that's just like you're not inherently worse at the game. You're just new at the game, and I have to remember. I have all my stuff up on my screen all the time. I have a co-pilot agent like feeding the information the entire time I'm playing, because like there is a lot to remember.
Trust me, I have veteran players that sit at my table now.
What do I add? What do I do?
I run 2 other games, and I have veteran players that have to look at their sheet that have been in 30, 40, 50 sessions with me, and they will look at their sheet because it's like, oh wait, I got to look and see what okay, I had 6 or I had 7. Because I mean, you know, we all have 9 to 5s, we all have jobs, and we don't get to sit at the table as much as we may like. So, you know, sometimes that slips your mind or whatever. So that's not a big deal. And for the love of God, ask questions. I don't have a problem with people asking questions.
I feel like if you were ever like, I'm going to charge you like 10 cents for every question, man, you'd be a rich man really fast.
I would be really, very rich. But you know what? This is me giving back to the game by educating other people on how to play, so that when I'm dead and gone, these people can continue playing. So,
well, I'm glad Josh said that too, because my biggest like hurdle for the game, and I don't really think it's 5e in general, but the character sheet, man, like coming in and creating a character for me, like I loved like writing my backstory. I like loved every second of it. I had so much fun with it, and I even helped the guys with theirs. So like I love that kind of stuff. And normally I love like building a character, theory crafting a character, which I did do and had fun with, but like the actual putting the sheet together, even with your help, that sucked. I mean, that was not, and like that's been my. And I've complained about that, like about every TTRPG almost that I've ever played. Is like there has to be a better way, and like,
and there's games that are rules like Shadow Dark, where your characters can go on a 3x5 index card, and it takes about 10 minutes to make a character.
Well, I mean, and like I have a article on our website talking about like, I mean, I'm not going to go on one of my subclass rants, I swear. But what I just feel like games should be like simpler, and like, you know, you don't need to have all this extra shit on your card to say I'm a fighter, but I also use magic. Why is that like 9 paragraphs in 4 different boxes when I could just know that and you know that at the end? Like, so anyway, that's just like. I was doing it, and when I was like talking Josh into it, part of me was like, part of me was like, he's gonna see the character sheet, we're gonna do it, and he's gonna be like, bro, fuck this, like I'm not doing this. But he's hung in there, and he was a trooper and got through that.
Well, and honestly, being a fighter, that's if you're gonna play a class for your first game,
it's a nice intro class. Yeah, it's a nice intro. But I think I might have cut off Nathan there, but he was next.
We're totally ignored Nathan, but Nathan is staring daggers at us. Nathan, what has been your
biggest
obstacle for 25E?
Biggest obstacle.
Using a spell that's
Probably
not
really good
Firebolt?
an Huh?
Using a
True.
spell that's
Using a
not
spell that's
Firebolt.
not called Firebolt? Is that an obstacle for you?
No.
He
I
uses
do say
magic
that the
missile.
big difference between there's a lot more cantrips in.
Oh,
Five
there's
E
so
than
many.
is- I mean, when you start out Wizard in 2, it's like you have like a couple first level spells. You don't have I don't think you have many cantrips at all.
We don't have any cantrips at all in second edition. Cantrips are new to the game.
So basically, at first, a wizard was like a couple spells, and that he was done
Was
for
it-
the day. And he was like, "Up,
You
I'll
were,
just
you were
see you
sitting in
later."
the background throwing darts and hoping nobody noticed.
Well, that's one thing too. I'll say is cantrips are way more powerful than you might initially realize. And my knowledge of cantrips is solely from Baldur's Gate 3 before 5e. Like I didn't know what cantrips were because like Dad said they weren't in second edition. So I had no like when I'm playing Baldur's Gate, a lot of the cantrips are like relatively low impact. Some of them are nice like utility cantrips. But then, like, coming into 5e, like, Nathan's using cantrips and doing, like, 15 damage. And I'm like, holy shit, like, this is not... Like, I did not expect cantrips to be this... I thought they were kind of, like, filler, relatively useful, but mostly utility, back of your stove, like, on the back burner style stuff. But Nathan is, like, absolutely cooked with some cantrips. But I will say, like, when I got Arcane Trickster at 3, and Dad's like, yeah, pick 3 cantrips. I'm, like, looking at the cantrips page, and I'm like... going through them, and I'm like, I don't understand what these were. I was looking at the druid cantrips, and I had to scroll like 5 pages to get to the wizard cantrips, and I was like, oh my god, like there was so. I'm like looking at it, and Dad's like, have you picked 3? I'm like, how would I pick 3? There's so many. Like, how would I ever pick? And but luckily, I only have to pick from wizard, which is only like 500 instead of 5 million, so that works out.
And I was gonna say too, one of the things that Carl, you do well as a DM is like you don't really like you give us the options where you're not like guiding us, because I know like. You're like, well, you could do this, or you could do this, or you could do this. It's really up to you. So I think that's a good move versus like where you could just be like, well, the best one would be this for you. So I think it gives you a chance to really like kind of come out of your shell and like really think about it, because it may be too easy for your DM to be like, this will work if you just do it this way.
Yeah, it's easy to railroad your players because, like, in my opinion, like if you have a story as a DM in your head and you've written it and you've put in a lot of work, and then the players just like completely go off the rails and don't hit your story, you might find yourself as a DM that's fun. Well, yeah, but like in our party is like we do that without trying really, but it's easy as a D, or it's real easy. I feel like to kind of steer your players to the outcome that you've put the most work into, even subconsciously. Like when you're not trying to, you're like, well, I have this really cool like thing over here, guys. Like, don't you want to go see? Like. Hey, don't
of interest over here.
Yeah, like don't do that, right? Because why would you do that? Let's do this. But
so I have learned in my long tenure as a DM, because I used to back in the day, I would sit down and write pages and pages of stories and had this elaborate tale of how I wanted the campaign to go.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way to get 3 or more people to fall in line and follow that storyline is if you railroad them. And I found that, okay, if I'm railroading players...
they'll feel it.
They're not really playing, right?
Yeah.
They're just kind of participating in the story that I have written. That's not fun.
Yeah.
I have been a player in a game that was a 100% railroad, and I quit after like 3 or 4 sessions. I'm like, this is not fun. I don't want you to just tell me a story. I want to make the story.
Well, it's almost like the Truman Show, right? Like you get like 3 sessions in and you're like, am I actually playing, or like is this all predetermined and I'm just kind of here? Just like, the Truman Show movie of Jim Carrey. It's like, so this all feels scripted.
Yeah, so normally what I'll do is I'll take a couple of index cards.
Mm-hmm.
I will write down some notes for myself. I'll have one card that's like NPCs.
Yeah.
I'll have one card that's a couple of bullet points or plot hooks. And then I'll have another card that may be storylines or quests. And then that way I have an entire smorgasbord that I can go to. And then I offer you guys a couple of options, and based off of your decision, okay, I can toss that card. I've got these cards left. And then that way I'll let you guys write the story. I'll help fill in the gaps by putting in people of interest, places of interest, quests, rewards, things like that. But I'm letting you guys write the story.
Yeah.
That's what a good DM does. If you write pages and pages of story, and that's the direction you want your campaign to go in, you're just writing a book.
Yeah.
Your players aren't participating. They don't have you can't say that you have a living, breathing world if your players don't get
To
to
breathe.
decide how things go in that world. If they
Yeah.
can't influence politics, if they can't influence whether or not that village is saved from the gnolls, if they can't influence that this village needs medicine, and if we take this quest, we can get them the medicine, or we
Mhm.
could go over and do this other quest, which is more lucrative. Okay, you take the more lucrative quest. Well, now this village dies off because they didn't get the medicine that you could have taken them.
Yeah.
So now that village is dead, and maybe there's a kid that lived, and now he's pissed off and he wants revenge against you guys.
Yeah.
So the world has to be a living, breathing world. And as I've told you guys from day one, and I tell all of my players this in session 0, you are free to make the choices you choose, but you are not free from the consequences of your choices.
Yeah, and
So
I remember, like, right when we first started this podcast, it might have even been on one of the episodes, but you had said something along the lines of the game should feel like we're all telling a collective story together, you know, the DM and the
yes,
players. And
yes,
you know, I really felt that, and this will kind of go into my next question that I've written down, but when you were telling me how, like, hey, you know, when we saved a character, and again, I don't want to, I'll go into it soon, but we saved a character that Dad said, hey, by the way, if you didn't do this exact line of events that you just chose in your own head, that character is probably dead.
mm-hmm.
I haven't felt like that's. There was a game I love called Bloodborne, which everyone here knows what that game is.
Oh yeah,
And there was a, you know, there's a lot of characters in that game that you run into, you know, as you
mm-hmm.
play. And if you don't go a certain way or do a certain quest before you would go to that area to meet them, sometimes in a playthrough you don't meet them because they're
Yeah,
dead or they've gone off
they're
and
dead.
done. Yeah, and like your character's like, oh, if you meet them at this exact time, you run into them and you tell them like, hey, I'll go fight this monster for you, or hey, I'll do this quest for you, or you talk them out of it. Whereas, you know, if you never go there, they go do that thing and now they're dead. And
Mm-hmm.
that was like the first game I'd played where, you know, somebody would have some kind of cool weapon or some cool cosmetic, and I'd look up how to do it, and they're like, oh yeah, this NPC has it, and if you don't get to him before X, he's dead, and you can't get it
Yeah,
until you
you're not
play
getting
again.
it.
And I was
Yeah,
like, that was the first game I'd ever played where I felt like my actions or lack of action had real tangible consequences for my whole playthrough. I never felt that in a game ever, where characters
right.
in game would die if I didn't do something in the right order. And you can't save them all. You can't do everything right. Every playthrough, you're going to lose somebody. And you know, it's cool that D&D kind of has that. If you get the right DM that can seed that into your playthrough, it does add like a sense of like real, like the world lives outside of your players. And if the
Right.
players take a week off, maybe that world's still moving. Maybe that guy that you were supposed to run into, you don't run into him and he dies or he moves on or now he's mad that you didn't meet him or whatever.
Right.
Um, so, anyways,
And I've always been good about if I think about an NPC and the players are like, well, we're going to go to Dagger's Dale,
mhm,
okay? And our plan is to go to Daggerdale, and if we get to Daggerdale, we're going to go to the inn. We'll stay a few days. Let's see if there's any work, and if not, we'll move on. So I'll sit here and say, okay, well, they're here. They would be, if they don't get sidetracked, they'd be in Daggerdale in a week.
mhm,
Okay, well, maybe I have somebody who's coming into Daggerdale that would be there around the same time as them, but there's no real legitimate reason for him to stay in town for more than a couple days. So the party gets sidetracked and they take another side quest and they don't make it to Daggerdale for a month. Well, that guy's not there now.
mhm,
He's moved on. He's done something else. And that's the way it should feel. It should feel like even when you're not there, a town is still moving on. Life
mhm,
still goes on in that town or that city, that village. You know that hut where that one little family lives
mhm.
along the river. Life keeps moving, right? Things keep
Yeah,
happening, and you know it should feel like if you stop by this fisherman's hut and you spend the night there to be safe and to heal, and you come back 3 months later, the hut's burned to the ground, guy's gone. What happened? Who knows? You can investigate or you can move on. I
mhm,
mean, there's always a tale, and the story. There's different chapters and different perspectives that are constantly moving
mhm.
based on PC interaction or lack of PC interaction. So
Yeah, and I've always liked those little stories that are like in between the lines because, like, you know, the big quests are fun, right? Oh, you're gonna go kill this horrible thing and save the whole city. That's great, but like sometimes I do like the quests that are like, you knew this guy, now he's vanished. You want to look into it? It kind of reminds me of like, you know, like we've been playing Helldivers, and I always get hung up on like we get on top of a hill and there's just like a dead soldier up there, or there's a crashed ship up there. And I know it's just an asset that the developers put there, but what they're doing is telling, they're using environmental storytelling to make the world feel that it's not just you running around. There's other things happening, and you look above you and you see the ships firing and other Helldivers dropping in, and it makes the world, even that small touch makes the whole world feel like it's got its own heartbeat outside of you. And that, with a sense of voyeurism, you can kind of just sit there and watch this world evolve and live with you outside of it looking in, which is just a cool feeling. It makes you feel small and it makes you feel like you're part of something bigger, which in a lot of games it's hard to do. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people like games like GTA and Red Dead, because the worlds feel real. Whereas like if you play other games that are not done as well, like especially open world games, it's like the world feels so generic and so lifeless because like things only happen when you're around it, and then when you leave, all the assets just kind of stand there.
Right.
It just feels fake, and that's another thing I love about D&D is it seems like it's made and it's almost tailored towards like having a world feel like you're a part of it, not the center of it.
Okay. Nathan, what are your thoughts? How are you liking the game as far as like the world around you, Callus?
The game's going really well. I like it really much.
I love the story that we built for him.
Yeah, the political intrigue has done really well.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Cade? Mr. Josh, what do you think?
Like, I like the fact that it seems like, there's never seems like there's like, I guess for the best way, lack of better terms, like a dead space. Like the world around you moves, and like, if you go left or right, there's gonna be something there. It's not like, oh, if you go left, you're gonna run into this giant monster. If you go right, there's gonna be just cobblestones. And I think I like the fact that it does seem very, like when we're playing, I feel like I'm like, in the game, and I think that makes it a lot more fun because it's easy to get like, stuck on your task and not think about anything else. But when you're like, oh yeah, like you were in the sewer doing this, and then a dragon flies over, and you're like, oh shit, a dragon just flew over. That's cool. So I think it's that's been really fun, and I think that's it keeps you engaged. I think the world, like kind of like Steven said, it's when the game is well done, it doesn't necessarily feel like a game. It feels like you're actually living the life of the person that you're playing, and I think that's I feel like that's how I've for this whole campaign, I think that's kind of how it's been. It's been grown into like where I'm like when we're playing, I'm like, man, I'm in Neverwinter, like I'm in Cade's I'm in Cade's world, and I think it's it's a lot more fun than just saying, well, my character did X, Y, and Z, and you went to this area and there was one thing you fought. But yeah.
Well, it's fun. Like, Maddie asked me when we're done, like, did y'all have fun tonight? And I always say yes. And she's like, we'll talk about it. And I give her like some of the highlights, but I'm like, I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like we're all just kind of telling a story together, and it's like improv where like Eucallis does this, and he's like looks at me. He's like, all right, what do you do? And it's like it's in the moment, and it's just it's hard to describe to people that have never played a tabletop game what it's like. I mean, you could say, oh, it's like Baldur's Gate. It's not though. Like it's not. Like it's kind of its own
Similar,
deal.
But big difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the same paint job on a completely different vehicle, and it's just, it's so different, and like, you're a part of like this, you almost like get on a roller coaster when you play a tabletop game, and you get off, and people are like, how was like, what did you do on the roller coaster? And you're like, well, I went fast, and I did a couple of flips, and now I'm here. And they're like, well, that doesn't sound fun. It's like, well, you had to be there. You had to be on the roller coaster going 90 miles an hour, and, be flipped upside down, and, see the carnival from 30 feet up to understand what I'm talking about. And I think that's kind of one of the it's a weakness and a strength of tabletop games is like it's very much you just had to be there to understand it.
Right.
So one of my other questions I had was, and this one for me again was one I was kind of hinting at earlier, is what is your biggest personal win in campaign 1 so far? And I could start off because I had one in my head, but saving Millennia from the manor. From the mini-start cloaks that had her locked up at the manor. For me, that was a bit, and like Dad even said, like, she was probably going to die in the next couple days. And if I remember right, you kind of told me you didn't really expect us to go there and save her. Like, you basically,
I did not. I really did not.
And when you said that, it was like, for me, yeah, I just felt like, wow. Like, I actually, like, I know it's stupid and cliche, but I actually felt like a hero. Like, we went to this place, we saved this person that Dad kind of was like, she's probably dead, and we got her out. I mean, I was stressed out the entire time, but like for me, that felt like a huge win, and I felt like a tangible impact on the world that we had done something that mattered and still matters. We're still working with her and doing things with her every episode,
Right.
or session, I guess. But that was a huge win for me because she probably should have died, would have died. So I don't know. That was a big win for me. I felt like that made me feel really good as a player, and made my character feel like I vindicated myself, and really kind of showed my character's strength, getting her out. So anyway, I didn't know if there was a moment for either of y'all where you felt like, wow, that was like so sick, that you wanted to share.
Got anything for you, Callus?
Trying to figure out, I think it was a really good win for him. I think he's really I don't know.
You've had a couple really awesome like combat, like using certain spells in the right, like the grease spell for that. What was that? The guard drake. That was a really cool use. Like you'll pop some spells like in an opportune moment, and it just feels like your character has like a huge impact just with the right spell at the right time. So I mean, that's been for me just looking at you. That was one of the big takeaways I had was the right spell can kind of change everything.
Grease on the skeletal warrior in the tomb. That was
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, grease on the skeleton warrior, guiding bolts, like casting like a really good guiding bolt and giving us advantage has been awesome. I'm sure I could go through my recaps and see, but there's been some clutch moments with some really nice placed spells that I feel like have been awesome. Josh, is there anything that stands out to you that you feel like is kind of you're like excited when it happened, you think about it when you go to bed that night?
I think, and if I remember correctly, I believe it was the was it the Mummy Lord, the Mummy Lord kind, where I was like, if I don't do this last attack and kill him, we're all gonna die.
Yeah. So I used my mage hand to grab my dagger back, and then you threw it at him and broke his concentration so that Nathan could kill him. After he almost killed all of us like 3 times.
Had on Nathan, so they could finally get his spells off. Yeah.
Yes, I'd say that.
Well,
I think
that was a great moment.
I'm really trying to think of like in combat, like there's been a couple of moments where like you're like, okay, you smashed him in the head, now he's dead. I'm like, thank God. Like,
well, that Mummy Lord moment stood out to me because it felt like that was our Avengers moment, right? We're like, we all do things kind of on our own. Nathan blast people, Cade smash people, and I'm kind of doing my own thing. But like that Mummy Lord fight to me felt like that scene in Avengers where they're all like interacting with each other and collaborating with each other and fighting off this horde of aliens in Avengers 1, and they're all like working together. It's like seamless. That fight was a lot of that because Nathan got silenced, so we're running interference for Nathan. I've run out of ammunition, so I have to use Mage Hand to give Cade my dagger so he can throw it to break concentration so that Nathan can spell him down. Like, that was an Avengers moment to me, where I felt like, we're always kind of doing our own thing in fights, and then that fight, we were kind of like one unit, using each other's strengths to take down a much stronger enemy. I mean, he was a CR6, and we're level 3. And, like, we had to really come together and beat that guy. Not one of us alone could have done that. So that was actually my second one. I was going to ask you guys if y'all felt the same way, but I'm glad you brought it up because it was just a really cool moment. I felt like that, again, Avengers moment is what comes to my head when I think about it.
Yeah.
I thought it was just cool. I mean, that's why people play games like that. They want their fellowship moment. They want that moment, where the fellowship, Boromir and Aragorn fighting off 100 Uruk-hai at the same time and doing all this cool stuff. That's the moment people have been playing this game for like years to get. And to get again, over and over again. And it's always cool and it's always fun to see Cade smash somebody and watch his hair get on fire because of his hammer, or Callus do the finger gun missiles and blow somebody up, and it's like all of a sudden it's like this guy's really scary, and then Callus drops 40 damage and just blows a guy to the stratosphere, and it's like, oh yeah, he's a wizard,
I just like how the moments where I'm about to do the fire and you're like, I just think of the meme, are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Do you really want
that? Yeah,
do that?
I mean,
I'll ask you one time, and if you're like, yeah, I'll be like, okay.
Yeah, that was. I mean, even moments even moments like that are fun, you know, because it's like we remember those moments. You know, yet was it the smartest strategic move? No, but like it was it was fun. You know, it was funny.
Fun.
You know, you learned a lesson. You're like, wow, that wasn't fun, and you know, we laugh about it, and it's all good.
You learn by trial and error, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of, you're only third level. You're getting ready to go to fourth soon, and you're trying to kind of learn your character's strengths. What are my strengths? What are my shortcomings? Where can Eucalis or Cade kind of make up for Aldor's lack of being a glass cannon? You know,
Mm-hmm.
Eucalis is more of a glass cannon. He's got spells that are going to do damage,
Mm-hmm.
but up close, his armor class is trashed here, and he doesn't have a lot of hit points. So you guys have to run interference, keep the guys off of him, so Eucalis can do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Cade is your tank. Cade gets up front. He runs interference. He's kind of your blocker. He's your offensive lineman, so that you know you can go out there and you can keep guys from screaming around the tank to
Mm-hmm.
getting to Eucalis. So it's kind of neat to watch you guys strategize and work together, because that's what D&D 5e is. You know, this kind of links back to the whole, the character sheet is tedious, it's long, and it's kind of the biggest pain in the ass to get playing, is to get that character sheet together. Well, the reason it takes so long is because this character has to be a well-rounded character
Mm-hmm.
so that you can use it. Because D&D 5e is pretty much a strategy game.
Yeah.
You have to balance resources. You have to take into consideration your party's strengths and weaknesses, and where you guys kind of overlap and can help one another. And you guys are starting to learn to do that. And it's kind of interesting to me as a DM to watch you guys fall into that regimen where you're starting to kind of mesh, blend your powers, blend your abilities, your feats and stuff like that, so you can lend to one another
Mm-hmm.
and wear down your enemy before you run out of resources. That's part of the game.
Yeah, I'm certainly having a lot of
You
fun
know,
with my character. I mean, my character is very unconventional, but that's kind of what
Well,
makes
our
it fun for
are
me.
kind of unconventional. I mean, even Cade, who's a straight fighter, but he's not really a straight fighter because Cade's background makes him a little more unique. You know,
Yeah.
Cade's a scout, tied to the Neverwinter Army. That gives him some role playing aspects with
Mm-hmm.
some of the Neverwinter Guard. You know, he's got a really cool hammer he picked up that gives him some abilities and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. You know, so it's, you know, there's more to it than what you see superficially just looking at the character sheet.
Yeah, that's where the fun is for me. Is just like, you know, playing a character that is not like everybody else's, and there are certainly some weaknesses, but like how do you overcome them, and how do you capitalize on you know, your niche? As my character has a huge niche of slowing down enemies, yeah, having like turning the battle into like a war of attrition, right, where they have to walk through a lot to get to us, and then you
well,
know,
and I
by then just backstab them a couple times, Cade smashes them, we blow them up, the end, you know.
Yeah.
And I will say too, like, you know, one of the things that I like about 5e is I feel like, well, in general, it's like any other thing, right? It's like the first time you play a Souls game, you're like, this sucks. Like, I can't do anything right. I'm getting absolutely cooked. And then, you know, by the end, you're like, well, you know, man, I wish I would have taken an extra point in this because that would have helped me here. But
Mm-hmm.
it definitely, like, you know, just looking at it, I'm like, you really, especially coming from a player who's never played it before, you know, I didn't even know what I was looking at. So I'm winging
Mm-hmm.
it from the beginning, but now I'm starting to realize, you know, like I did make some good decisions, and then there's some decisions I wish that I would have done better. But I think 5e does a good job of kind of, it's not necessary. It's not like trying to think of a good like game that I could think of where like you're basically, you pick one thing and you can't do anything else. Like that's all you
Mm-hmm.
get. And I think 5e definitely, like, you know, as you're playing, you're like, oh man, like for me, like I got that repeating crossbow. I was just had the single crossbow at the beginning. I was like, I kind of want something different, and so 5e gives you that option. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that I definitely appreciate about the game is it doesn't feel like you're necessarily locked into one thing and you can't do anything else.
That's
Right.
mostly true. Again, I promised I wouldn't get into a subclass rant, but that is mostly true. In terms of just like being
I've been
able
waiting for
to,
this moment my entire life.
I mean, Dad's heard it more times than probably humane, but you know, it does. I will say, out of most tabletop games and even video games, D&D 5e does a decent job of making any form of combat doable. They're not always going to be efficient, but they are doable. I mean, again, my character is a living example of that. I most of my value comes out of not in combat. Like I'm doing other things, and I am setting us up or preparing or anything. And like my value is not damage dice. It never will be. That's not my character's mo. And it's cool that it's work. I mean, it's doable. Am I ever going to be able to kill a dragon with a smoke bomb? No. But my character probably wouldn't get into combat with a dragon if he can help it. So like, it's just kind of like that. That's how it is. I'm not really the typical hero type with the sword and board running at a horde of enemies. That's not my deal. I'm on the horse going that way because why would I do that?
Right.
But anyways, that's all the questions I had for you guys. I really kind of want to get your opinion. Dad, is there anything else you want to say?
No, I'm just really enjoying the game, guys. I appreciate all three of you participating. It's kind of been a highlight for my week.
It's the highlight for me every week. Every week.
I was trying to think, how am I going to juggle 3 games? But honestly, I've been juggling 3 games pretty easily. So, maybe one day I can run 10 or 15 games a week and give up this life of crime, working a 9 to 5 for the band, making them rich. But, we'll wait and see.
Congrats to us for 1 year on YouTube. Sorry?
Yes, absolutely. What do you got?
So as a DM, how is it that, or like, so when you're thinking of like, so you have something you wrote down, like the story, and then we go right when you're expecting us to go left. Like, how does that kind of, like, how have you essentially, like, over the year, like, just your experience where you're like, okay, well, that's fine that they didn't go that way because I'm doing this. So it feels like you always have like a backup for the backup for the backup plan.
So I've learned through trial and error and a lot of experience to be able to pivot quickly, because any DM worth their salt will tell you that there is no way to plan for what player characters are going to want to do. You could sit here and spend a lot of time making this NPC. You could write up a character sheet for them, and we all know character sheets take a while to make. You can come up with a background for this character and everything else, and your intention is this is going to be their point of contact. This is going to be the person that's the quest giver for them, that is the person that like has a safe house for them if they want to go into hiding. He has resources for them to tap into, so as they go up in level, they can take on more difficult quests. You spend all this time, and then they walk right past that NPC who has the quest bubble above his head, and you could do everything as a DM to say, this person looks interesting, this person is watching you, this person seems to be interested in the conversation you're having, and players will walk right past him to walk over to the little old lady selling apples in the corner of the tavern, and they want to talk to her.
I think it's
you got to pivot. You've got to pivot. That's why I say I have all these index cards on my desk all the time when I play, so that I have 4 or 5 different avenues that the game can proceed in to go to the next session. And if you guys, if you miss the first 3 and you go for the lady in the corner with the apples, hey, maybe that lady in the corner with apples, I start thinking
she's a witch.
Maybe she's doing this to get medicine for her grandchild. Her grandchild is sick. Well, why is the grandchild sick? You guys do some investigation. Oh, the grandchild has been poisoned by a night hag who lives in the forest nearby. Now you guys have to go on a quest to go find this night hag to find out what her malfunction is. So there's all sorts of things, and my head is constantly spinning with stories and plot lines and hooks, so that I can pivot pretty quickly. Unless you guys just walk up and just start randomly murdering people in the street, I can pretty much pivot to go whichever direction you guys want to go.
It seems like a mix of like a lot of experience and then also treating every game kind of like a Left 4 Dead or like a Helldivers procedurally generated scenario, where it's like you guys are going to come into this general area and there's like 5 or 6 stories I have written in this area, and you can kind of spin them for just about any NPC. It's kind of like a lottery system, and it's like, okay, they walked up to this guard. Okay, well, I had an idea that some guard was going to be corrupt, or something in the city was going to be corrupt, so now it's this guard because they talked to him. And like, you can kind of like use it as kind of like this, like have a Rolodex of all these scenarios and all these NPCs and kind of match them up like a matching game to go that way. That's kind of like how Left 4 Dead or Helldivers does it, is like they kind of have 40 or 50 different scenarios. You roll the dice when you drop into a game, and here you go, and it's like, it could be any of these things, and we'll just match up what makes sense.
Absolutely.
But I just want to end it by saying congrats to us for 1 year on YouTube. I literally cannot believe it.
Like it's been a year, but it's absolutely
well, I remember us talking about it. We were like, hey, we're doing this blog thing, we're posting on this website, we're talking on Instagram, and it's like, we kept saying, oh, we need like some kind of video, like some kind of content somewhere. And you made a YouTube, and I was like, dude, I don't know what the hell we're gonna do on YouTube. And you know, I didn't have a webcam, I didn't have anything. I never edited a video in my life. You know, didn't know what the hell we were doing. And now it's been a year. So,
I'd also like to give congrats to the one person who is our star player for random outtakes and quotes from our show, and that would be Nathan.
yeah.
Who had jokes and the quips all the time.
Yeah, honestly, you haven't hit me with like a Red Foreman one-liner in a few, so I'm gonna give you the goal for this next one to get me a short. That's your mission.
Yeah, 100%.
But anyways, thanks a lot, guys, for coming on. Thanks, Dad, for doing this with me every week. And we'll see you back for our regularly scheduled program this coming week. So, bye, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Bye.